Welcome to the GA4 Immersion training cohort. If you haven't done so already, please take a quick look at the pre-flight checklist. This is just a list of things for you to have a look through to make sure you've got in place before we start next week. Speaking of next week, we're going to start next week with a live session. It's a nice way for us all to get to know each other, to meet all the people you'll be working with over the next 6 weeks, to lay down some ground rules and just talk about the process and the flow of this training course and how we're going to get through the next 6 weeks. Until then, I just want to introduce you to a couple of people. So first of all, we've got our friendly Measurebot. So the Measurebot's going to appear from time and time again in these videos and outside these videos when we need to do some definitions really, or when it's going to lend a helping hand. So for example, if I say GA4 is the new version of Google Analytics, or if I say UA is the previous version of Google Analytics. Our friendly Measurebot's going to be there to just define some of the acronyms, some of the terms, and some of the buzzwords really as we go through this course. Someone else I want to introduce you to is Other Me. So as we go through these videos, there's going to be times where we need a bit of extra context or we need a bit of extra definition beyond just an acronym defined. And that's where I pop in, or Other Me pops in. So what I'll be doing is interrupting myself and just going through a bit of detail or kind of referencing other materials or content or resources that we can use, whether that's other videos, blogs, podcasts, or anything in between. So for example, if I say GA4 is the 4th version of Google Analytics, look at that, I can pause in mid-flow. It's going to come in useful when he's been rambling for a bit too long. But anyway, what he said is true and not true. Yes, we call it GA4, but no, there's not just 4 versions of Google Analytics. Anyway, I've linked off to a video in the description, a deep dive I've made on the history of Google Analytics 4 stemming back to the 90s when it was first introduced. Back then it was called Urchin Analytics. But anyway, more on that in that video if you're interested to know where it all comes from and where it all started. Otherwise, I'll put you back to Dan. And lastly, I want to introduce you to my colleague Dara. So Dara's going to be lending a hand every now and then to add a bit of real world context and application for us. So over to you, Dara. Why don't you say hello and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Dan. Hi everyone, I'm Dara. I'm going to pop up from time to time just to give you some real world application examples of whatever feature it is that Dan might be talking about.
So you've all been added to Slack. Slack's going to be a place where we do a lot of the communication, the collaboration and the sharing and the discussion over the next 6 weeks in this course. What you'll also have noticed is that you've been added to a one-to-one Slack channel. This is going to be our primary method of communication going forward. This is a way for you to get in contact with me and my colleagues here at Measurelab. If you're not going to make one of the live sessions, or you haven't managed to do the work that week, or you just have a question for one of us, feel free to use that one-to-one channel. We're going over all this and more in the live session first thing next week. I'm really looking forward to meeting you all first thing next week in that first live session. Until then, I hope you have a great weekend, and if you have any questions about anything that we've covered already, the pre-flight checklist or anything at all, please use those one-to-one channels or email training@measurelab.co.uk.